Hey, what's up everybody? Hammerheart Metal Reviews here once again, doing another discography countdown of one of my favorite bands. Today we are talking about the melodic death metal masters At the Gates. I mean, this is a band that needs no introduction, pretty legendary in the scene, almost were kind of the originators of this melodic death metal sound, the Gothenburg sound as it's called, from Sweden. There's a lot of bands that have tried to emulate their sound, but not really too many that do it as well as At the Gates did in the prime of their career. They did just put out a brand new album. That's why I'm doing this discography ranking today. The album just came out yesterday. That one's called The Nightmare of Being. I will be including that in this ranking. In all honesty, I have only listened to that album 2 times, so that's not necessarily enough to get a really good feel of the album. So my positioning on that one may change in time, but I wanted to do this video anyways to let you know my first impressions of that album and of the rest of their career. So without further ado, let's just get right into this. You know the drill. I'm going to count them down from my least favorite down to my favorite. They have 7 studio albums, so let's get this started. Coming in last place, my least favorite At the Gates album is To Drink From the Night Itself from 2018. This is their second most recent album, and to me, it is clearly the weakest. I'm not really a big fan of this album. I find it a little bit boring. It all kind of sounds very similar. It's not really treading any new ground, just kind of really trying to retread paths that they've already taken. Wasn't really anything too standout on this one to me. It's really not an album I ever really go back to. Favorite songs on here, the title track is decent. The Chasm is okay. But all in all, this was an easy choice for me. Easily my least favorite At the Gates album. Up next at number 6, I've got the brand new one, The Nightmare of Being. Like I mentioned, this just came out yesterday, and I have only listened to it twice. It seems like this album might be a grower, so in time, this could very easily move up on my list. But for the time being, I've got it sliding in at number 6 because I just couldn't put it higher yet after only a couple of listens. But my first impressions of this album are it is leaps and bounds better than To Drink From the Night Itself. They are at least trying some new stuff here. There's a lot of like progressive elements. It's a lot more varied than the preceding album. They've even got some saxophone on here, which is a little bit different. I mean, some bands have tried to incorporate that in there with the death metal sound, and it kind of works. And there's like kind of an instrumental song in the middle of the album where they throw the saxophone on there, and it sounds decent. It at least switches things up. It's not just the exact same song after song. But all in all, this album is pretty decent. I enjoyed listening to it. My favorite songs, Spectre of Extinction is pretty cool. The Paradox has a cool riff. The Fall Into Time is one of the more proggy songs on here. Kind of got like some synths at the beginning of the song, like a nice slow build-up. At the Gates isn't really known for doing that kind of stuff on their songs. But all in all, pretty decent album. Like, I would probably give it a 7 out of 10 on my first impressions. We'll see as I listen to it more what I think of it. But for the time being, I do enjoy it, and I'm going to listen to it some more and see where it ends up in the future. But let's move this right along. Up next at number 5, I've got At War With Reality from 2014. This could be a controversial pick for some people. This one was really well received when it came out by a lot of people, saying it's like the best thing they've ever done. This was their first album after an almost 20-year break. And while I do enjoy it, I don't think it quite deserves all the hype that it got. I don't think it's that standout. Like, it doesn't really do anything different than what they did 20 years before. They kind of just recreated that exact same sound. We're trying to just do a throwback album, and they did succeed at that. I'm not shitting on this album. I do still really enjoy it. I listen to it still to this day. It is an album I go back to, but I just can't put it higher than number 5 because I like the original 4 albums a lot better. But that's not to say anything wrong with this album. I do still like it. Death in the Labyrinth is really good. Conspiracy of the Blind. The title track, At War With Reality. Like, this is still a 7.5 out of 10 for me. It's still a really solid melodic death metal album. I just can't put it higher than this. Up next, coming in at number 4, I've got the debut from 1992, The Red in the Sky Is Ours. This is just, they're definitely their most aggressive and raw album. Just kind of laid the template down for melodic death metal. Really cemented them as one of the forerunners in this genre. Like, there was a lot of bands coming out from Sweden right around this time, like In Flames, Dark Tranquillity, Soilwork, all kind of had a very similar sound, but At the Gates was really kind of the first one, and I feel like they are the best of the bunch, and this album is no exception. It's just a really solid death metal album, right? Kick it out of the gates with their debut is just awesome. It's really great tunes on here. Kingdom Gone, just awesome. Within, Windows, Neverwhere, just really cool melodic riffs. And I like the vibe on this album. It doesn't all sound the same. There's like different stuff going on. Really great hooks, great melodies, and the vocals are so raw. And I just fucking love it. And that's why it's coming at number 4. Up next at number 3 from 1993, the follow-up to that album, With Fear I Kiss the Burning Darkness. Try to say that 10 times fast. Very long title. But wow, a lot of people don't like this album for some reason, but to me, I fucking love it. I think it's one of their best. The vocals sound so fucking tortured on this album. There's such great emotion in his delivery. Absolutely love it. The guitar riffs are like strange, but they really make it work. The sound production is maybe not the best on this album, but all in all, the songwriting is amazing. Raped by the Light of Christ. Come on, great fucking song title and great song. Primal Breath, I love his screams in there. Star Drowned sounds so fucking tortured. The Burning Darkness, just all in all, such a raw album, but with such great melody also. Absolute classic in the genre, and that's why I have it ranked this high. Up next at number 2, 1994, The Terminal Spirit Disease. This one is a little bit different because it's more like an EP. It is still a full length, but there is actually only 6 like true new songs, and then there's 3 live tracks. So it's a different kind of album, but if I'm looking just at like those 6 actual songs, they are all absolutely killer, and that's why I had to put this high. I almost put With Fear I Kiss the Burning Darkness higher than this one just because there's more songs. But the 6 songs on here are so fucking good and catchy. You could really see what they were going for and where it would lead from here. All 6 of these songs are amazing. But my favorites are The Swarm and The World Returned is just an absolutely gorgeous instrumental. It's so fucking beautiful. The Beautiful Wound is probably my favorite song on the album. I just really love the guitar riff in there. The title track, Terminal Spirit Disease, is great. Just all in all, absolutely killer album, and that's why it's coming in at number 2. And that just leaves one, and I mean, yeah, no controversy here. This is their most popular album. It's a classic in the genre. I'm not going to get too crazy here. This is my favorite At the Gates album, Slaughter of the Soul from 1995. Absolute benchmark in melodic death metal. So many bands have tried to copy it, but this is, like I said, just the benchmark. This is a landmark album in the genre. Just a great death metal album, great melodic album, just a great metal album. Like, it breaks down barriers between genres, and it's just great. People that aren't even into death metal would probably still enjoy elements of this album because the melodies are that good. It's really crunchy and just got really upbeat drum beats, like really in your face, great rhythms. It just keeps it driving forward. They just really honed their sound on here. They've never done it better. And like, they'll never top this album. It's impossible. And no matter what they do, they're not going to put out an album better than this. It's just fucking impossible. My favorite songs on here, the title track, Slaughter of the Soul, Cold, Under a Serpent's Sun is really great, World of Lies. Just every song is so catchy. You can sing the whole thing, even though he's screaming. It's so legible. You can understand everything. It's just a great fucking melodic death metal album. And that's why I have it ranked number 1. Anyways, these are just my opinions as usual. Feel free to disagree, but let me know down below what your favorite At the Gates albums are. What did you think of my list? Give me a like, give me a subscribe. Until next time, Hammerheart Metal Reviews out.